Good evening. Welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this evening. I was going to put the picture of our esteemed goalkeeper up. Where is it? Need to get that up. Kasper Schmeichel. He has been. He's taken to social media, and he has posted on social media this picture of him. Just put it up there. First shoulder operation done, everything went well. We'll now focus on recovery and preparing for the next one. Thanks for all the messages over the past few weeks. It means a lot. Kasper Schmeichel. Now that Kasper's gone, and now that we've obviously got Sinisalo, it got me thinking, and I'm going to get you completely involved right from the start. Who was the best goalkeeper at Celtic that you have ever seen in your lifetime? Get that in the comments this evening. It's all about goalkeepers tonight. It's all about, obviously, the fact that that is Kasper Schmeichel's Celtic career is over. He will not play for Celtic again. So who's been the best goalkeeper that you've ever seen? Was it the holy goalie? Was it Fraser Foster? Was it Jonathan Gould? Was it Paddy Bonner? Was it a young lad that came through the system at Celtic that played for Celtic against Barcelona, and then ultimately had a fantastic game, and Celtic got rid of him. Celtic let him go, and he went on to have a fantastic career. And David Marshall. David Marshall went on to have a brilliant career. He could have been a complete legend. He is a legend for Celtic. It's just for that one game. There's been various goalkeepers over the years. I'm trying to think, who was the first goalkeeper that you ever saw? A lot of people going for Fraser Foster. Let's get some of these comments up. Fraser Foster, Boric, Foster, Boric. Ronnie Simpson. I'm trying to remember who the first. I was far too young to, and you never paid attention to goalkeepers when you were a kid, unless you wanted to be a goalkeeper. But you never really paid attention. Ronnie Simpson, Fraser Foster. Glaswegian saying, see if Casper is back within 4 weeks, it'll be down to this. He'll been told by his Denmark manager, you need to play the game every week. He's out for a year, mate. That's him done and dusted. Boric and then Foster, first time round. Foster was good the first time round. He was at Celtic, wasn't he? Fraser Foster. A lot of people going for Fraser Foster. Boric, the holy goalie. John, not seen John Thompson. But before everyone's time, that one. Has to be close between Boric and Joe Hart. Foster because of his mentality, and how he pushed himself to the limit. Love Boric, but it's Foster. Paddy Bonner was the first goalkeeper I seen, the best goalkeeper of all. I think Pat Bonner. What year was Pat? He couldn't have been the first goalkeeper I seen. Um, 19, I need to put every Celtic goalkeeper. Yeah, mine's would have been Pat Bonner. Mine's would have been Peter Latchford was at the club in the early years that I can remember, but Pat Bonner would have been the main goalkeeper. The majority of me growing up as a youth, and then there was Stuart Kerr, Gordon Marshall, Pat Bonner came back again, um, into contention in the 1990s. Magnus Hedman, remember Magnus Hedman? Jesus, Rab Douglas, David Marshall, Arthur Boric, Doris De Veers, Lucas Zaluska. Lucas Zaluska, remember him? We got him from Dundee United. Craig Gordon, Fraser Foster, Connor Hazard, Valise Barkas. Oof. 2 years and 4.5 million. Scott Bain, Joe Hart, Sinisalo, Casper Schmeichel. That's the current list of goalkeepers going away back to the 1970s. People can remember John Fallon. I mean, I've met, well, God rest his soul now, he's sadly passed, has John. But I'd met John on many, many occasions. And he always loved his stories about the Lisbon Lions and stuff, didn't John? But Ronnie Simpson, goalkeeper from 1964 to 1970. You have to say that Ronnie Simpson's up there. But who's the first goalkeeper that you remember as a youngster? Peter Latchford is coming in, Tony. And who is the best one? Get those in the comments. Boric or Foster, too close to call. Frank Haffey, how long are you going back? Let's just see. Latchford, first saw, which is and included a bit sentimental. Way before my time, if I'm honest. I can't remember the swap between Latchford and Pat Bonner. I can just remember Pat Bonner. I've got a vague memory of Latchford as a Celtic goalkeeper, but as like I say, I was very young at the time. So you're now talking about Pat Bonner. I mean, you remember Pat Bonner because he was just there. He was there for what was like forever, wasn't he? I mean, he was at Celtic from 1978 until 1997. He was at Celtic. That's a phenomenal length of time for any goalkeeper to be at the club. Unbelievable amount of time. Crazy. Peter Latchford, 1975 until 1987. And then Pat Bonner was in goals for the double. I think because I probably remember Pat Bonner more for the double because it was the year that I left school. So football in the school era for me was a bit, it wasn't really there. I wasn't one of the young ones that were allowed to go on the bus and go through to Glasgow to the games. Although I'd been to games just with my father, as they say. Um, Francisco Javier Sanchez Broto. I don't even think he's mentioned. 1978 he joined. Yes, it is. Pat Bonner joined in 1978. Hell of a long time ago. Hell of a. First keeper I remember was Frank Haffey. So it's Paradise Found. Jesus. He's not even on the list because I only go back to the 1960s. So Ronnie Simpson, the father of the Lions, as Ronnie Simpson was known. Yes, DJ Singy, I'm fine. How are you? Barkas. What a keeper. Aye. What a keeper. Barkas Baz. Yeah. Bonkers keepers. Bonkers Barkas. Dave King. Dave King's the keeper. Paddy Bonner was the first goalkeeper I saw, says Stuart. Do you think that Joe Hart was better than Fraser Foster? Yes. Statistically, he is. I think if we could never ever have gotten Joe Hart in his younger years when he was, when he was in that England team. We got Joe Hart at the time that we could afford him. Let's face facts. I mean, he was on crazy money, and he achieved a lot for England over the years. And he played with some fantastic English players over his time. Was he better than Fraser Foster? Yes, because Fraser Foster left Celtic to go down south again to get into the England team. And he never got into the England team, really, did he? He never really did anything with his career, massive wise, but it was always. And yes, for the fact that Celtic wanted Fraser Foster to come back to Celtic, to stay at Celtic for the 10, and Fraser Foster said no. And that was the start. Neil Lennon will confirm that. That was the start of a terrible season at the 10. They put everything on trying to get Fraser Foster back, and he went, I'm not up for it. Not up for it. Joe Hart, if Joe Hart was young enough, he'd have stayed for as long as he could. I think it was just, and I'd love to have seen Joe Hart at Celtic from a younger age, but it was never going to happen. It's a bit like saying I'd have loved to see Moravcik at 25. We got Moravcik at 34. And everyone said, what are you doing buying a 34-year-old? And he ran Scottish football ragged. I think that Fraser Foster, not Fraser Foster, Joe Hart, could have helped Celtic achieve a lot more things. But would we have had a manager that would be able to have convinced Joe Hart to come to Celtic? That was the big thing. You might remember that Ange Postecoglou coming in, he had the phone call with Ange, and he sold him on being the older member of staff to give Callum a hand and be the father figure in the team, and give him that couple of year contract and just take it from that. So that's a hard one, but I think I would say yes. It's a weird one, isn't it? Because we were invincible with Fraser Foster, but then again, Joe Hart, his first season was fantastic as well. It's an interesting one. Pat Bonner ended up sat on his arse too many times. Just my personal opinion, although a lot of people won't agree with me. Was that not just an age thing catching up with them? Don't know. It's a completely. When you look at I think you could never compare the likes of Pat Bonner to Joe Hart and Arthur Borage and even Casper Schmeichel, because they were completely different types of physicality. The fitness level is completely on different levels, completely different levels. Jonathan Gould, big Gouldy, at Celtic, early 2000s. It was a 1990s Gouldy, wasn't it? Gone into the 2000s, Jonathan Gould, Jesus. Yeah, Sanchez Brotto. How could you forget him? Quite easily. Quite easily. Don't know about the best, but fave is the holy goalie, Borage. I think so. I think for what he brought to Celtic. And we were talking this morning about players that like to wind up opposing players and wind up opposing fans. Arthur Borage he was right up there, wasn't he? I think he was the first player after the three amigos under Tommy Burns that really liked to get under the skin of the opponents and the opposing fans. I mean, going to Ibrox and turn around to the fans and blessing yourself. So no, it's different level stuff. And I wonder how Martin O'Neill would have coped with the likes of Arthur Borage. He doesn't seem too particular about certain players at Celtic right now, but we'll leave that conversation where it was this morning. Borage and Zaluska. Ooh, for penalty kicks, cup games, Zaluska. Going to jump through these. Jonathan Gould stopped the 10. Yeah, big Goldie stopped the 10. He'll always be remembered for that. Borage is a legend. Peter Latchford first, and then best is Borage. I don't think I must have seen Latchford in goals for Celtic. But like I say, I never, as a young kid, I was never interested in sort of the goalkeepers. It was just the goalkeeper was just there, wasn't it? Goalkeeper was just usually the fat, lazy one in the goals. Um, no mention of Peter Ruffy then. Packy Bonner, he was the best. He was the best. Then Ian Andrews, Alan McKnight was also a good keeper. There we go. Hardy Warner's the best. Peter Latchford and Roy Baines. Remember him? No, I don't. Jesus. Um, Let me just jump on this. Just seeing what's going on there. My feather. Gould was a nervous goalkeeper. My favourite was the holy goalie, Pat, from 1980 to 1990. What would I say is about our chances about winning the league? I would say that currently we're in third position in the league, and that's not what the video is about tonight. It's all about keepers. My first keeper was Gould, Jonathan Gould. Best keeper was Arthur Borage, Foster, Gordon. We're missing Craig Gordon, don't we? Craig Gordon. When you think about it, we took Craig Gordon after he was injured. He'd been out injured for a long time, hadn't he? I mean, there's people talking about Casper Schmeichel being out of the game. Craig Gordon was out for over a year, wasn't it? It was more than a year, wasn't it? Was it not about 2 years that Craig Gordon missed out on football before he came to Celtic? Well, nobody's mentioned Craig Gordon. Forgot about him. How could you forget about Craig Gordon? I think the funniest bit about the Craig Gordon story and Craig Gordon's football is the fact that he was chased out of Hearts. And he was dispelled, he was expelled. Get out! You're not welcome in this club, you big baloof. Craig Gordon, and he ends up at Celtic. Lisbon, who was the goalkeeper for the Lisbon Lions, is the question. My mum said Simpson was like a cat. Sweet. We are still winning the league, but only if we don't screw up against Dundee. Ian Andrews was my personal favourite. Frank Haffey was way before your time. I'm that old. I bought my first car off of Fred Flintstone. That was way before my time, mate. It's like I say, I can remember Pat Bonner, Latchford. I've got a memory. I can remember the name from being a kid, but like I say, when I was up before I was 16, I wasn't interested in the goalkeeper situation. Easter 88. What age were you then, Stuart? I was 15 and a half when I left. They told me to just fuck off. Fuck off. Don't come back. Hart loves us more than Foster. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. That's true. So if you were going to say who was the better, I would say I would go with Joe Hart. I always thought that Fraser Foster was he was like a big ogre, wasn't he? He was just a big huge ogre in the goals. Yeah, some right oldies in here. There is that. David Marshall against Barca. Oof, that was a crack. Well, he did well that night. He did do well that night. I like Foster and Borage, but Packy Bonner was the first I saw. Joe Kenway, another keeper. Jeez, Joe Kenway. That's going back. Foster. That's why we lost. That's why we lost Gordon. Yeah, it is why we lost Craig Gordon actually, because Fraser Foster was. But then Fraser Foster was better than Craig Gordon, wasn't he? Arthur Borage, the holy goalie, he blessed himself with eyebrows and the hands went off the nut. He's off his fucking rocker and he's got past the pop. Oh, Arthur Borage, the holy goalie. Best keeper I've ever seen was our Shug playing for St. Joseph's Academy, Ayrshire School Cup final, Rugby Park, when they had grass. Oh, yeah. I'm going to jump through the comments because I didn't stay on too late this evening. Magnus Hedman. God, there was a shite keeper. Top misses. Who was the worst keeper that we've ever seen at Celtic? Now that we've had a bit of conversation, I'm going to jump to the end of the comments here. Who was the worst ever keeper that you've seen at Celtic in your lifetime? Gordon, for me, probably the best keeper. Gold is the first I remember. Loved Boric. Gordon was brilliant for us, especially as he'd been out for 2 years. Yeah, I was always impressed how Craig Gordon, when he came to Celtic, there was always a big question mark over the fact that he'd been out for so long. And you think, can he come back and be a good goalkeeper? Would he put his all in for Celtic, considering he was a big Hearts guy. Love Big Joe, but still the holy goalie. His Mrs. Summer was removed from Celtic TV because she was getting involved with Craig Gordon. That is very true. That is true. And they're married to this day. And the last time I seen the two of them, that was at Edinburgh Airport last summer. We should have kept Shay Given. Yes, we should have. That would have been worst goalkeeper, Barkas. Turned 16 in September. I was in October, mate. God, you must have got kicked out of school too if you're less than Easter. Part of the club. Punch. Hey. Carol Muggy. Alan Ruff. I can vaguely mind Ruffy being at Celtic as well. Wishing Magnus all the best on his next operation. Get back to good health, Magnus. Valius. Hologram Hans Barkas. Paki Bonner must be up there with the best. Barkas with the worst. Barkas with arms. Ian Andrews. Barkas. Big John Fallon wasn't too bad. No, he wasn't too bad. He just played second fiddle for a while. That was the big man's issue. But fantastic lad and fantastic stories. Used to love listening to his stories. Magnus telling us all that his hospital bed is awful. The buzzer's going off. I feel your pain, mate. It's honestly the worst place ever. I got 2 trials at Celtic. Who won the big gig? Hart Bonner. Barkas or Ian Andrew. Never seen Ian Andrew, but I'll go with Barkas. Rab Douglas? Rab Douglas is the worst goalkeeper you've ever seen. Go sneeze. Seriously? Barkas is still fresh in the memory. Ian Andrews or Barkas was the worst, Baz, says Jim Lister. Alan Ruff than Barkas. God, Ruffy was the 70s, late 70s, wasn't it? Barkas. A lot of people going with Barkas. Big Rab was great. Packy goes without saying. Big Heart. Haffy was brutal. Remember him well. Jesus. Barkas and Andrews the worst. It's hard to determine between them. Ruff was good backup keeper. Played about 3 times. Yeah, he did, didn't he? And Fraser Foster said he was coming back to Celtic. So we let Gordon go. Foster then changed his mind and we were screwed. True. It's a true comment, mate. You're not about your keepers tonight. Look at the previous defenders in front of them to make the keepers that good. Some great defenders. Worst keeper is Casper. I think that a keeper, people will say that a keeper is only as good as the defenders that's in front of him. But defenders are only as good as the keeper that is behind them. Because if they've got complete trust in the keeper, I mean, look at the defenders that played with Arthur Borage. They were probably made to look better than some of them were because Borage was that good. You know, you have to have the trust of the guy that he's going to dominate the box. He's going to tell you when he's coming for the ball. He's going to shout when he's coming up to jump the ball so he doesn't smash into you. He'll come running right through you to get the ball. You want your keeper to do that. You want your keeper to have I mean, they always say that keepers are absolute bonkers. No, nobody in their sane mind wants to be a goalkeeper. It's maybe why I never had the inclination to think about goalkeeper. Rag Douglas was top class goalkeeper. Um, obviously, Barkas looked like he needed a nappy. Goalkeepers need three brain cells, and two of them connected to cats. Yeah, that's true actually. Ruff was also Scotland's worst goalkeeper ever. Um, mm, was he? He probably was, wasn't he? Scott Bain was better than Casper. Oh, that's a that's a um, that's a bitch slap that one to Casper. Scott Bain. Well, there's one thing. Scott Bain's got, and this is a crazy, crazy one. Scott Bain has more medals at Celtic than Casper Schmeichel. So if you want to have a little giggle tonight, Scott Bain has more medals than Casper Schmeichel at Celtic. It was Lou Macari's fault for getting rid of Shea Given. Let's not talk about Lou Macari and stuff. That's Vargas. Put it that way, they never stopped me. Gordon made plenty of mistakes and all. Yeah, true. I still miss Arthur Borage. I think a lot of us still miss Arthur Borage. Tory Warner was the best. Crocodile arms, wrists, biscuit fingers. Barkas, surely the worst keeper I've ever seen. Thank you for the super chat, mate. Don't spend it all at once. I'll try not to. I'm going. In fact, I could probably time that I convert that into the time that YouTube takes their cut off it. Probably get a couple of pints. Thank you for it anyway, mate. I was behind the goal when Gould saved the shot from Dundee and it slipped through his hands into the goal. Two Irish guys calling him wanker. Well, I was at the Dunfermline game, the second last game of the season, and everyone thought Celtic were going to beat Dunfermline that day. And I remember this ball coming in from the other side of the box, and Celtic fans managed to get in one half of the what you call the home end at Dunfermline behind the goals. Please just let us. You've got to just go in there. They segregated the fans, half Dunfermline, half Celtic, and that ball seemed to come forever. And I remember Goldie just being in kind of no man's land for it, and then it coming into the goal. It seemed to be in slow motion for me. It's just because I was at that angle where you're looking straight sort of across the goal at it. And you were just like, Feed the Bear was our best defender. Yeah, Big Roy. Big Roy. What a man he was. Sinisalo has shades of Borage about him, where he shouts at the defence. Yeah, he does. And I think that, I hope that he goes on to be a Celtic goalkeeper for many, many years. Many years. The thought of Barkas and goals and ball and goalie. Oh, man. Jesus. Uh, Still no new info on Rogers' takeover pass, says Kieran. You are determined to start that rumour, aren't you? You're determined just to go with that. You're just going to keep pushing away at it, keep banging the drum for this takeover to happen with Brendan Rodgers with Saudi money, and bring back John Kennedy. Jesus, Holy Goalie went out for a night for a fight after an Old Firm game. Hero status. Just needs to get on the pints and cigars. Nicholson and CO are scouting over 35-year-old goalkeepers in the goalkeeper market. Only criteria necessary is being over 35. It's so true. Frank Huffy got 9 in a row. Changed his name to Huffy. Zaluska. Mine's Zaluska. Yeah, real Jesus. Rough was one hairy bear punch. Yeah. big hair back in those days, wasn't it? I mean, they all had. I remember growing up as a kid, and you're looking at these football players, and they've all got this big curly hair, and I'm looking at them going, it's just not going to be me. Like I'm can remember being a kid, and I never got it. I mean, I was coming up through the late 70s and early 80s, and you're seeing these big Buffon hairdos that the players had. I mean, they all had them. Don't know. I mean, even Murdo McLeod had one. And then you're just like, and then I would look at Tommy Burns, and you're like, he's really not got this big hair going on. Roy Aitken had big hair as well. Do you know what I mean? It was like, fuck, just nah, weird. Do you get a medal, or if you only play? I'm not too sure. Nah, you need to play 10 games. Is it true about Scott Bain that he's better than keeper than Scott going to the World Cup? Casper is not. Well, that's true actually, because Scott Bain is there's the truth. I mean, Scott Bain's going to the World Cup. He'll be going to the World Cup. Casper's not. He's won more medals at Celtic than Kasper Schmeichel. That's Stuart Kerr. God, now we're going really back, wasn't it? Whatever happened to Stuart Kerr? Barkas was still out the other week. Oi, oi, oi. Caesar above all others. Talking about defenders. Roger and the Saudis. Yeah, I know. All keepers need to be 35 stone. The Kevin Keegan Afro perm. Yeah, I never got that. It was just weird. Gordon Marshall was a hairdresser, Baz. Was he? And there you go. Saudis are wonderful human beings, says the Irishman in Porto. Johnny Thompson. Sat on the bench more than Casper. Yeah, he is. Bain shot it during the COVID season. Yeah, well, I think there's more than him just shot it during the COVID season, isn't there? Anyway, I'm only staying on for half an hour tonight. We're way over that this evening. There's not a lot of Celtic news, so there's no use hanging about far too long and ruining my throat even more. It's all about Kasper Schmeichel this evening, isn't it? It was all about goalkeepers. Who was the best? Who was the worst goalkeeper that you've ever seen at your time at Celtic? And we'll go talking about that purely for the fact that Kasper Schmeichel, around about 3 hours ago, put up a picture of him sitting relaxed after having keyhole surgery. Yep, having keyhole surgery on his shoulder. First operation done, everything went well. Now fully focused on recovery and preparing for the next operation. Thanks for all the messages over the past few weeks. It means a lot. And I read some of the messages. Jesus, you've got thicker skin than me, mate. Respect to you. Anyway, do the right backs tomorrow. Yeah, we could do the right backs tomorrow. Yeah, we'll do the right backs tomorrow. Who's the best right back that you've ever seen at Celtic? Anyway, thank you to everyone who's been on the video tonight. Big shout out to Tony Stewart, big shout out to Celtic Mad, and everyone else who has commented. Just something a little bit different since it is international break. We will keep going. Has Casper mentioned Celtic yet? No, he's not. No, he's not. It's completely. I don't care about him. He's done. He's dusted. He's no longer a Celtic player as far as I'm concerned. And on that note, have an absolutely fantastic evening, day, night, morning, wherever you are, Celtic fans all around the world.